It's not true. There are people who aren't really rich who have really cluttered houses because stuff is so cheap in our world. So that's part of why there's so much clutter, and that's why there are all these shows now. Yeah, Mia?
Do you hire anybody to help you?
I have, right now, I have 2 assistants, and they're very part-time. One is just, she's working with one client like once a week or once every 2 weeks. And then one, it's very hard to train people, so usually I try to hire people when I'm doing a move or something big so they can work with me, but that doesn't come up that often. So I'm trying to have assistants, but it takes time. It takes time to train them, and there's a lot of, it's weird, but there's a lot of little things. There's the skill of organizing, which a lot of people have, but then some of it's the people skills, the knowing how to not, make the client feel comfortable and not judged, and how to make them feel better about themselves, but still get them to let go of stuff. Yes, Janilsa?
There's this other show where a guy, he goes to restaurants, and they have like the bacteria everywhere, and they're dirty, and he closes them up, and then they give him a time, and he builds it, and he rebuilds it.
Yeah, it's sort of a different version of the same thing. Yeah, Frenzy?
There's this show that it's called Extreme Makeover.
Right.
That's people's house get tumbled over, and it's all dirty and everything.
Right.
They make a new one for them.
Right. I mean, I've helped, but in real life, and I'll tell you something, twice I've been on television, and both times I've been on television, for the after shot, there was a big pile of junk off camera that was going to come back in after I left. One time I was on Good Morning America, I did a teenager's room, and then one time I was on this show, Living It Up with Allie and Jack, and I did a garage. But, when they do stuff for TV, it's not really realistic, and it's all done in this crazy time period that's not real. Like, I've worked with some clients over, big spans of time where they get they get better at throwing stuff out, they get better at maintaining the systems I give them. And sometimes I'll work with a client, like, say, 4 or 5 sessions, we'll go through their whole house. And then I don't see them, and they call me back a year later, and they go, come in for one day and just kind of tweak it up. So sometimes it's like that. But everybody's different, but usually TV is not that realistic. Yeah.
Have you met any famous people?
Oh, I've met a lot of famous people. I've folded famous people's underwear and put it in their drawer in a really beautiful way.
Ew.
I've left famous people's housekeepers notes to say you need to fold his jeans in thirds. But I'm not telling you because I'm discreet. Okay? So when you want to work for people, you've got to be discreet, because they've got to know that they can trust you with their private stuff about their divorces and their unpaid taxes and whatever. I'm not telling. Yes?
You see, do you, when you see when there's a lot of mess after you clean, do you clean for them?
I don't clean, but like I said, if we are taking everything off the desk, I am not above wiping the desk off, because it would just be silly. I'm a logical human being. But I don't clean for them, but it always looks better. I try to always leave it looking better when I leave. So I want to also say, before we run out of time, see the top here? This is one of my favorite quotes. It's from a book I read when I was a kid. It says, work and hope, but never hope more than you work. Okay? So one of the questions I heard Miss Guido tell you guys yesterday when I was here for SEM not to ask was how much money anybody makes. So I'll tell you this. I don't make that much money, but I make the same amount of money in a lot of people in a lot less time. But part of the reason is there is no downtime. I go in, I hit the ground running, I work really hard for 4 hours, and then I'm out of there. So, there's a focus thing about my work. So, yes, and then did you? Yeah.
I got 2 questions.
Yes.
First one, what does
Discreet. Discreet means, it means showing discretion, means private. It means I'm not going to tell. Whatever I see at a client's house, if I see that they owe money, if I see that they were sued in their divorce for custody, if I see whatever horrible thing that I could sell to Page 6 or not, because they're not all famous, only a couple of them, I would never tell. And a lot of my clients, they refer me to their friends, which is how I get new business. But they have to know. If you're going to, tell Mia to call me, you have to know that I am not going to tell Mia what I saw in your drawers. So you have to be sure that I am discreet and that I would never tell. And that's really important. If you're a babysitter, if you're an organizer, if you're a lawyer, discretion is good business.
And the other question was that
Generally, I have a 4-hour minimum, so I won't work for less than 4 hours because it's not worth it to me to go, because I could always find somebody to work 4 hours, and usually my kids are in school for 6 hours, so it works out. I drop them, go, work, and it's also a good chunk of time because for me, it's not so hard. For the clients, it's hard because they have to make the decisions, they have to think, they have to let go of stuff. So usually 4 hours, we can really do something like a big closet or a desk or we can really accomplish something, but they're not fried. Like if I try to do 8 hours, then they don't want to do it ever again because it's too much for them, not for me. Sometimes when people are moving, I'll work like a full day because then it's a rush. It's like we've got 3 days, the kids are starting, the renovation's 3 weeks late, the kids are starting school in 3 days, so I'll work for, 3 8-hour days or something. Yes?
You see when the famous people like you said the households, how do they don't clean the house?
Well, no, lots of famous people do clean their house. Sometimes not everybody who I go to whose house is really messy. Sometimes, like when people move, like I said, sometimes they've had a big renovation, things have changed, and they're busy. So they just want somebody to set it all up so that it's beautiful and it makes sense and they can just go with it, and they don't want to do it themselves. So sometimes it's that. And some of my clients, their houses aren't really messy at all. Some of them just have trouble with one little area. Like some people just have trouble with clothes, and some people just have trouble with paper. So I have a client who, my nickname for her in my own private head is White Lacquer Lady, because everything in her house is beautiful white lacquer, but she just can't deal with paper. She hates it. She'll try to do anything to avoid the paper. But I'm there to make her do the paper, because she's paying me. She knows that 4 hours, she's got to do that paper that she hates. Pay the bills, file, whatever it is. So I'm there almost to make her do the stuff she has to do. Yeah, did you have a question? You have a question.
Have you ever gone to any athlete's house?
Athletes? No, I don't know any athletes. Not yet. But never say never.